community agreements as we trickle in. I'm just going to go over these real quick. First and foremost, be supportive. We all think that we're cooked. We all think that we're not going to do well, get a 2. This isn't the case. Let's lift each other up. Let's say, hey, Sophia, you've got it. You can do it. So yeah, we're going to be supportive for everyone. We're also going to be patient because we have 5 nights together and we got to get along. We're all people. We all have needs and feelings. So we have to be patient with each other. And then we're also all going to be kind because you should never not be kind. Really, that's what it is. But yeah, so these are our community agreements. You must abide by these if you want to stay and learn about world history. So here they are. So here is the cram schedule for AP World History. My name is Avery, or backtrack. So May 10th, we're doing units 1 and 2, May 11th, 3 and 4, May 12th, 5 and 6, and May 13th, 7th, and 8th. And then May 14th, we're going to have unit 9 and then a final finale. That's a bit redundant. So basically, that's just, we're going to go over, like tips and tricks for, like SAQs, DBQs, things like that. So if you want to remember this, I'll be on units 8 and 9. Hi. Yeah. So then if we all want to introduce ourselves, I'll start. My name is Avery Kurth. I'm a junior this year, and I actually took WAP for 2 years, so my freshman and sophomore years, because my school has this like weird the program where you like combine it with literature and things like that. But yeah, so I'm a little bit of an expert in WAP, or we call it WAP at my school, world history, and I'll be super excited to help you guys with units 8 and 9. So see you then.
Hi everyone, my name is Mia. I am a junior in high school and I took AP World History last year. I'm going to be teaching units 2 and 7 and I absolutely love AP World History. Also shout out to my AP World History teacher, Ms. Gar Engage.
Hi everyone, I'm Miriam. I'm a junior right now and I took AP World as a freshman. I'm going to do units 1 in the finale and I'm super excited to help you guys.
Hey everyone, my name is Andy. I am a senior and I'll be covering units 3 and 5. So that will be on nights 2 and 3. Be sure to show up then, but I'm super excited to work with everyone.
Hey there, I am Peter Leonard. I'm a teacher host. This is my 4th year teaching AP World History. I went to the AP grading last year, had a great time, and I'm really excited to be here with y'all today. The last person I want to pass it off to, Avery, we can actually go back to you to keep on going while Hamza gets some things figured out.
Okay, sounds good. By the way, it surprised me every single time he says, "Oh, I had so much fun at the AP grading." I struggle to believe that. You're reading essays all day. But anyway, this is how we're going to make the most of a preview. You're here for for one night, but here's how you're going to make the most out of all of our nights, especially the cram nights. You're going to want to keep notes because when you're listening to a video, are you really consuming all of it? No. That's why you have to get some what's that called? Motor memory. Yeah, you got to get some motor memory in there. Keep you active, keep your mind sharp. Don't try to write everything down because that won't work. But yeah, keep notes. And then once this is done, the replays, the recordings of these are going to be in the My Stuff on Crowdcast. So you can go to My Stuff and find this link again. It's at the same link. Just immediately whenever we're done, it should be there. And then the group chat, which is to your Am I pointing to the right? Probably. The group chat is going to be to your right, and this is for sharing tips, tricks, and to participate whenever we ask questions, which will be pretty often. It's also for, like we said earlier in the, oh God, what was that? The community agreements. This is for support and kindness and patience as well. And then if you have any burning questions that you think could apply to a large swath of people, put those in the Q&A tab, and we'll try to answer those. Not even try, we will. For starters, yes, we will take breaks during the crams, and then yes, the replay will be available immediately after the event, once again, in My Stuff. Oh, hi, Pep. Okay. And then here's the agenda for today. So obviously I've been doing the welcome right now, and then we also have the Unit 3 content preview. And then we're going to go on to discussion questions, and then how to contextualize, because that's like a really big skill, especially in like AP histories, and then also Q&As. And then if you have any questions during the review, please ask in the chat, also the Q&A tab, and we'll get to you. So today, like I said, the Unit 3 content preview, we're going to be doing land-based empires, which would be a pretty big chunk of your exam, 12 to 15%. In the time period we're talking about is 1450 to 1750. So this is my beautiful Freemanpedia map. You can see these massive empires. We got Russia, or the Russian Empire, like the Ottomans. So these are your land-based empires. They're going to have large swaths of land. That's why they're land-based. So yeah. Okay, so if you're a land-based empire, what do you want? You want land. So of course you're going to want to expand that land. And how might you do this? So there's motivation for it in that exploration. You're finding and claiming your own land. And an example of this would be Zhang He's fleet in the Ming Dynasty. And then also another big motivation for conquering land is religion and conversion. So like if you remember, and I think I learned this, maybe it's because I was in Texas history, but no, this is definitely all over. But Spain's reason for coming to the Americas and colonizing and stuff was God, gold, glory. So of course, God doesn't only apply to the Spaniards, but all around. So an example of that would be like the Sunni Shia Ottoman versus Safavid conflict. So like there are these two massive empires. Let me see if I can go back to there are these two massive empires. You can see them in red and green. And what they're going to do is oh, my version of Islam is right. No, my version of Islam is right. And they're going to want to fight over that land. So that's also a motivation for conquering more land. And then also you're going to have access to trade and resources. Money runs the world. So you're going to want to be able to grow your economy and things like that. This is common in all types of empires. Like there's not an empire where this isn't a thing. And an example of this would be, so Constantinople, it's in that really important area connecting Mediterranean and the Black Sea. So of course you're going to want to control this port so that you can, have tariffs, things like that, and have trade. So an important example of the motivation for wanting to expand an empire is whenever the Ottomans took Constantinople from the Byzantines and now control it. So yeah. Methods for expansion include military conquest, treaties, and alliances. So we want to expand. How do we do it? War, pretty much. So gunpowder, which is a really big thing, especially in this sort of era, allowed for empires to amass large territories because, you have these massive weapons. You're going to be more powerful than the people who don't have gunpowder. And then how are we going to operate these weapons? How are we going to fight? We have special military forces. This is a pretty cool thing, I think, in this unit. We have the Janissaries and the Cossacks. So like the Janissaries, for example, they're little Christian boys in the Ottoman Empire. And what they're going to do is like, they're going to go and they're going to train, and then they're going to become pretty much like the samurai of the Ottoman Empire. But yeah, they're like little boys, pretty much. They're like our age. And then the Cossacks, they're going to be they're an autonomous region in Russia, and basically in exchange for those privileges from the Russian government, they're going to offer their force. And then there's also treaties and alliances. This is a big thing in like war and stuff like that. Sunni Islam is practiced by both the Ottomans and the Mughals. So the Mughals. And so in between them, sandwich is the Safavid Empire. So they can work together and they can spread Sunni Islam while meanwhile sandwiching and like closing in on the Safavids to cut off their expansion of Shia Islam. And in response, what the Safavids are going to do is they're going to try and make alliances with the Europeans opposing the Ottomans. So they're also going to try and get around the Ottomans and cut them off that way. So yeah, these are major methods for how you're going to expand gunpowder, Janissaries and Cossacks, I was going to say Sunni Islam, treaties and alliances. That's what it's going to be. So while I trade off with my other student host, Hamza, what we're going to do is you're going to answer the question, what do you think was the best method for expansion?
Hi guys. Hello. Okay. So yeah, you guys, all of these were good answers. Gunpowder, yes. Yes, gunpowder. Awesome answers, guys. Okay, now let's get started. Let's get started in about the legitimization of these land-based empires that we've been talking about. So like, what does that mean? So legitimization, okay, that's a hard one. Okay, legitimization just means like, like basically the people, the leaders, they care about what the people think. So they need to legitimize their power in the eyes of the people, because the people are the ones that are in the empire. Okay, so let's talk about centralization. So centralization is how these empires maintain control of their territories. Like the Ottomans, they had so much territory, right? And they centered their power in bureaucratic elites and legal codes. So let's see some examples. So we have the devshirme system created by bureaucratic elites for Ottomans. So when you think of devshirme, think of Ottomans, right? And then we have in Qing China, there was the bureaucrats that were trained to run the dynasty. And hint, hint, this was a really big thing, the civil service exam. So at Qing China, they championed the use of the civil service exam. So this is when the bureaucrats took a merit-based test to see if they were good enough to run the empire. And then we have the Ottomans and Mughals relied on a class of land-owning military elites. So these were bureaucratic elites that helped maintain the centralization of their empire. Okay, and then now we have how these empires made money, how like they made money through their taxes, right? So we have tribute systems, such as the Aztecs. The Aztecs demanded tribute from their conquered lands. So they were like, when they conquered them and killed their people, they were like, give us money. Like we need something in return, right? But like they didn't give anything in the first place. But and this Aztec, this tributary system that the Aztecs used led to resentment from the people that they conquered. So basically what happened is that the people were like, this is not a good relationship. This is kind of toxic. So then this eventually led to the Aztec downfall because they partnered with other people. So, but yeah, tribute systems. And then we have land taxing. So this Ottoman tax farming. So, and Mughal zamindars. So both of these groups, they collected taxes from civilians or from citizens, and they collected these and gave them to the government. So this is how these land-based empires made their money. So just a few examples. Okay, now we have the military. So military is very important, very, very important for this period because we talk about gunpowder so much, right? So in the Ottoman Empire, we have the Janissaries. This was called a standing army, which means that they could be mobilized at any time. So they were always ready to go and fight, to go pledge their allegiance for their country. And the Ottomans, they had a really strong army because that's how they were able to get so much land and to rule so much territory, is because of their standing army. And then we have gunpowder. Obviously, that's like the thing that's ever so present in this unit. Gunpowder. We have gunpowder, which translated into weapons, cannons, and these were immensely successful, obviously, as we know. And if you had gunpowder, you're pretty much guaranteed to win. So we have in most, or not all, or most, if all of these land-based empires used gunpowder. And isn't that like so cool? Like they all use the same commodity, and that literally just transformed the world. And then we have some some pictures on the left of these cannons and janissaries. Okay, now let's shift to art and architecture. How did art legitimize the rule of these leaders? So some examples we have is the Palace of Versailles. So if you guys have ever been to France, like the Palace of Versailles is so beautiful and it's so ornate and it's just like, wow, like this is crazy. So basically Louis XIV, he was like, let's build this palace, this humongous palace to show the people why I'm leader, like to show them what's up. So yeah, so like they were like, so Louis was like, yeah, let's show the people why I'm king and why I should always be king. It's because I built these humongous ornate palaces. Like, it's crazy. So then we have another example in the Ottoman Empire. We have the Süleymaniye Mosque, which is also a humongous mosque, a beautiful mosque, which was built to again garner the people's attention and put their trust in their leaders. And then another one, probably Mr. Leonard's favorite one, is the Qing imperial portraits. So in the Qing Empire in China, we had these portraits being drawn, and they were also like very, very beautiful, very ornate, and these cemented the ruler's rule in Chinese culture. So it was a very flamboyant display of their power. And then I have a question here. So why do you think the artist included details like the emperor having long fingernails? So we see in this photo right here, this emperor has long fingernails. I don't know, like they're on the shorter side of the long, but they are long fingernails. And I want you guys to answer in the chat. I want you guys to answer in the chat. Why do you think these details were included? Like, isn't that like, it's peculiar, right? But let's see what you guys are saying. Okay, yes. So I see, to show that he doesn't have to do any work, and that is completely correct. So these long fingernails were to display their wealth and display the fact that they did not have to do manual labor. Because obviously with long nails, you cannot be plowing in fields all day, right? Yeah, so to scratch, yes, and that would be funny. Okay, but yeah, so this was to emphasize his status and his wealth, and to again legitimize power. Okay. And then also, I have another question before we move on. Why does having art or architecture like legitimize? Like, what do you think the people see in this art that makes them be like, wow, like this is my ruler. Like, I love emperor. I love this emperor. Like, what makes art legitimize the power? Yes, art equals wealth. Yes, money and power. Yes, they see the beauty of this art and the beauty of this architecture. That they see his glory. Yes, idealizes the ruler's features. Yes, wow, you guys like, wow, I love these answers, you guys. You guys are so smart. Okay, let's move on. So now we talked about legitimization. Now let's talk about the belief systems in these land-based empires and some of these beliefs that these rulers believed in. Wow, I said belief a lot. Okay. So we have, in the Ottoman Empire, we have the millet system. Okay, so this was was a system of religious tolerance. So basically what happened is religious communities, different religious communities, could oversee their own affairs. So they could do not whatever they wanted, but they could create their own communities, kind of like an enclave, but more like it was a extension of autonomy for these religions. So they established their own independent courts and schools. So for example, there was Jewish people living in the Ottoman Empire and Christian people living in the Ottoman Empire. And these communities could establish their own community. These communities could establish their own place that they could share their common characteristics. So this was a illustration of their religious tolerance. And then we have the establishment of Sikhism. So Sikhism, if you guys don't know, is a syncretic blend of Hinduism and Islam. So do you guys remember what syncretism is? So it's like syncretism just means a blend of two things. So we see the blend of Hindu beliefs such as reincarnation and the Islamic belief of monotheism. So these two collided in India, in like Mughal Empire India, and a new religion was born, Sikhism. So, and this was able to flourish under the Mughal Empire because of the religious toleration present. Because, for example, we have Akbar the Great, who was a ruler in Mughal Empire in the Mughal Empire that really stressed religious toleration. So, okay, and then again, I want you guys to connect this back. So, like, why does being religious tolerant, like Akbar the Great and the millet system in the Ottoman Empire, why does that legitimize the leader's rule? Why should the people like a leader who is religiously tolerant? Okay, I'll give you guys a few seconds. It can appeal. Yes. So again, this religious tolerance helped breed unity, right? It brings people together. Exactly. Good job. They aren't persecution. It's not a thing, right? Can be seen as a fair ruler. Exactly. You guys are on point with these. Yeah, increasing their popularity, obviously, yeah, because everyone will like a ruler who likes them, right? Like if your ruler respects your religion, you'll like them, right? Yeah, unity, exactly. Okay, now let's talk about what's happening in Europe. So religion, we see the idea of divine right. So divine right, what Europeans believed is that they thought that divine right, the right to rule, came from God. So they were preordained to rule for this empire. So, for example, in Britain and France, like King Louis XIV, he was like, this is from God. I was destined to become King of France. So this was a defense for their monarchical absolutism. So they were monarchs, obviously. So this was a argument to keep the monarchy alive. And it provided religious superiority as well as stood for authority in civil law. So the king was king, and it provided a defense and an evidence for the king, and it also legitimized his power in the eyes of the people, because they were like, why are you king? And he's like, I got it from God. Like, I don't know about you, but it's from God. Yeah, so we see that in Europe. Okay, now let's talk about another thing in Europe that's really big during this period, is the Protestant Reformation. So we just talked about the divine right tool, right? And how kings were just like, I am the power from God. But then Martin Luther comes in and he's like, I don't get that. Like, that doesn't make sense. Because Martin Luther was like, you can pay to go to heaven? Like, he was like, that doesn't sound right. So he got mad, and he was like he was mad at the idea of indulgences. So indulgences meaning you can pay to go to heaven. The Catholic Church allowed citizens to pay and go to heaven. So and he wrote his 95 Theses, which started the Protestant Reformation. So the Protestant Reformation was an attack against the Catholic Church. And when you think of Protestant, you should think it's protesting the Catholic Church. So he protested the Catholic Church about their idea of indulgences. And so this was a split between the two, this was a split of Catholicism. And we see that happen all over Europe. And then, but we also see the Catholic Church come back with their little counter-reformation. They're like, if you guys are doing this, like, why can't we? Like, I want to get stronger. So then they start their little counter-reformation and create the Order of the Jesuit, and they combat the 95 Theses and reform their Catholic Church to identify and to qualify Martin Luther's theses. So we see that happen in Europe. That's pretty big. And now let's compare. Comparing is a big skill in AP World. You really need to know how to compare two different empires across two periods, or in the same period, which we're going to do right now. And I think that's really, really important a really important skill to have. Okay, so let's get started. So administrative techniques. So let's compare these. So we have, on the centralized side, we have the Qing. The Qing were a centralized bureaucratic country. They directly ruled and taxed their people. And then we also have Europe becomes more centralized under absolutist monarchies, like in Britain and France. So those two are centralized. Then on the decentralized side, we have Mughals and their local rulers, zamindari, right? The zamindars are the tax collectors. So we see that, right? The Mughal zamindars, and then we have the Ottoman tax farming. They're both decentralized, right? They're local rulers collecting taxes from their citizens. And then we also have, in Japan, the Tokugawa shogunate daimyo. So these are the feudal decentralized feudal lords, and they were a part of the local government. So we have centralized Qing in Europe, and we have decentralized Mughal, Ottoman, and Tokugawa shogunate. But what do they have in common? So they're all successful, right? And what are they successful with? Gunpowder, right? So they're both successful and large. They utilize religion, right? So we have Europe, divine right. We have Ottoman and Mughal religious tolerance. And then they gain money from their citizens through taxation, right? How else would they get money? So they tax their citizens, and they use these to gain money, right? Okay, and then let's compare the economic strategies. So we have a trade monopoly. So the Ottoman Empire, they controlled the Mediterranean, right? So because Europe couldn't go through to Asia because the Ottomans were controlling the Mediterranean trade. So so they had Constantinople, known as Istanbul today, but they were able to capitalize off this humongous trade that was happening. And obviously, it led Europeans to look for a different route to Asia, right? Isn't that funny? Because the Europeans were like, I don't want to mess with that. So we have that. And then in the agricultural side, we have the Russian Empire. So they took a more agrarian approach to their economy through Cossacks and serfs. The economy was mostly agricultural, right? The peasants were forced to work on farms. But we see like the trade and we see the agriculture both working hand in hand to because like the economies were reformed, and this sustained the empires. This was how the empires ran, right? Yeah, so I'm going to be passing this off to my friend Andy, and then he's going to go through some discussion questions with you guys. Yeah, thank you guys.
Before I start, I just want to say, Hamza, that was fire. Absolutely fire presentation. Thanks for setting me up for discussion questions, which I will be sharing right now.
Thank you. Yeah, good luck.
All right, let's move on to some discussion questions. So feel free to type your answer into chat. Let's start off with our first discussion question. What similarities do you see in how land-based empires rose to power, and what differences do you see? Avery and Hamza have both given some really awesome explanations, so feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, I'm seeing a lot of good responses. So gunpowder, definitely, because after all, we're talking about the gunpowder empires. So military force, obviously a really important factor. And then I see some differences. So like religion, how they consolidated power, lots of really awesome responses here. All right, great job, guys. Now, on to the next question. How did land-based empires maintain control over vast territories? How are these similar, and how are they different? Once again, type your answer into the chat. I can't wait to see what responses you guys have. Very good. Let's see. So difference in how centralized the empires were. Military, gunpowder, religion to control land. Some were more military than others. Bureaucracy, like how powerful, how much like direct power the rulers themselves took. Lots of really awesome responses here. All right, lastly, in what ways did belief systems play a role in the governance and social structures of these empires? You guys are really on fire today with these responses. All right, some great responses. So different forms of religion. So I noticed a response about how like the Mughal Empire was like was a Hindu majority ruled by an Islam like ruling class. Like the divine right to rule, so like mandate of heaven, or like in Europe, that like a king's power came from God. Yeah, a lot of different responses involving religious tolerance. Overall, great responses. So now that we've finished a couple practice questions, let's work on a major writing skill, contextualization. As you know, in AP World, as well as APUSH and AP Euro, we have two really big, scary essays, the LEQ and DBQ. However, hopefully with this lesson, they will not be as scary as you once thought of them to be. So contextualization is one of the points that you get for both of these essays, and the way that you write your contextualization is by, quote, describing broader historical events, processes, or developments. Or in other words, you're telling the story about what is going on before the prompt. Let's get into it. So let's break down contextualization into two simple steps. First, brainstorming. So first, you want to think of 3 to 4 solid, relevant, and specific historical events occurring before the prompt. So now I'm going to give you guys some practice. Let's say that we're writing a DBQ or an LEQ on the Columbian Exchange. So obviously we're going to be talking about Columbus sailing to the Americas and the events that happened beforehand. But now let's give some contextualization as to what happened before Columbus. So feel free to drop some of these responses into the chat. Okay, I see technology. Ooh, nice. More specifically, like what types of technologies? I see compass. Anything else? All right, very nice. We're getting to a lot of excellent responses. So, for instance, like the Europeans need new trade routes after the Ottomans took over Constantinople. We saw like the unification of Spain under Ferdinand and Isabella thanks to Reconquista ending. Technologies like the astrolabe, compass, ships, wonderful, all awesome responses. Now this is step 2. Step 2 is the planning stage where we list our events in complete sentences. So think of it as a story that you want to tell. So there are two approaches for planning. You can either work forwards with starting off like 100 to 150 years before. So if like we're going to be talking about the Columbian Exchange, we can start off with something like, oh, like the compass was invented, which allowed people at sea to navigate the world a lot easier. Then we can talk about another event like breakthroughs in shipbuilding technologies by, say, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish. There were a lot of different technologies that allowed for improvements in ship speed. And now let's move on to like our third event, or the most specific one. Oh, excuse me. Allergies are not pleasant right now. Where was I? Third event. All right, third event, we can talk about the fall of Constantinople when the Ottoman Empire took over Constantinople, ended 1,000 years of the Byzantine Empire, and then took over all of the trade routes. Now, this is when we get to our thesis where we evaluate the extent of the Columbian Exchange. Another strategy that we can do is work backwards. So we can think about what happened right before the Columbian Exchange, the Ottomans taking over Constantinople. Then we can go back even further, looking at like ship trading technologies, where Europeans have explored. So like, have they sailed to India? Where have they gone in Africa? Do they have trading posts? And then we can go back even further with something like the compass. However, remember, even if you're working backwards, you always want to be going in like proper chronological order when you write out your contextualization. So now let's do some practice. This time the prompt is evaluate the extent to which land-based empires use similar methods to consolidate their rule. So as Pep says, remember to zoom out 100 to 150 years before the prompt, give some evidence as your backstory, and then put your thesis at the end. I'll set a timer for 3 minutes, but remember, don't put your response into the chat until time is up, so that way everyone has the opportunity to write and come up with their own ideas. We're getting close to the end of our time, so if you haven't already, begin typing up your responses to the chat. Don't send them just yet. I'll tell you guys when you can do that, but get ready to present. I really look forward to seeing all of the excellent responses everyone has. 3, 2, 1. Let the floodgates open. Give me your best responses. All right, we have a lot of really good responses. So I'll pick out a few pieces from different people's responses that I really like. So for instance, advancements in technologies like the saddle to allow people to ride a camel for longer, because if if anyone has ridden a horse before, you know that things start to get really uncomfortable after a bit. So the saddle, wonderful piece of technology. Printing press, gunpowder, obviously gunpowder, and lots of great responses.
Andy, is it okay if I jump in here real quick?
Absolutely. Take the floor.
Yeah. Also, Andy, I hope that you're able to get a box of tissues real quick and I can help take care of that. I want to highlight a response, and Manon, if I'm saying this wrong, then please let me know in the chat. But you're going to be able to see that response hopefully on the screen, or at least part of it. One of the biggest things about context, guys, is that it's the backstory behind the prompt, right? If the prompt's asking about how they legitimize their rule, you wouldn't even get into talking about that yet. Like, you wouldn't talk about monumental architecture, religious toleration. You would tell the backstory behind it. Like, how did those empires actually rise? And what Manon does really well here is they talk about like how they actually got that power. You could also, for this prompt, talk about the falling of the Mongols. You could talk about the rise of the Ottomans or the rise of the Mughals, rise of the Safavids, but you wouldn't want to get into any of the actual strategies until your thesis statement. So if you guys want to see a really good example of Manon saying the backstory behind it, that is how you earn the point for context. And one more thing, Andy, before I let Avery take over for the Cram Quiz, I'm going to post a message in the chat, y'all. I want you guys to look at this example of a student attempting context. I want you guys to tell me what is the error with this student's attempt at context. So in the chat, feel free to send it when you have it. What would be the error with that student's attempt at context? Yeah, I appreciate the people who are pointing this out. That is what I sent is more of a thesis. It's not really the context. And so, like Andy explained, for context, you're telling that backstory, using that specific evidence to tell the backstory. Wait until your thesis statement to give those actual arguments. We'll be further discussing both of those pieces on the actual cram sessions, which we'll talk about a bit later. But Andy, really, really good stuff talking about the skill. Is there anything else that you want to say before we pass it over to Avery?
Nope. Thanks for all of like the insight and this example, because first of all, like we've explained what to do, but it's also really good to learn how to write your essays by looking at what not to do. So thanks for this input. I'm just gonna hand it over to Avery.
Hi guys. Now we're gonna move into a fan favorite part of our cram events, and that would be the cram quizzes. So if you will let me get this started up, sharing my screen. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna want to scan this QR code, or here, let me add a call out so you can either scan that QR code or below the stream, there will be a button you can press to take you there to the cram quiz. It's a lot like a Kahoot, but we have cool music. I guess they have cool music too, but better than theirs. There. Either scan that QR code or click the quiz button down there to join. Samosa. Samosa. What is he actually saying? I don't know. Oh, I can turn on the music. Oh my gosh. It'll work. Hopefully. And then I'm also going to post the link in chat for you guys real quick if you need that. Cool. Okay, so I think that with our participants joining, we should go ahead and start this quiz. Okay, let me zoom out for you guys. Which of the following revolutions led to the Enlightenment in the Age of Reason, 1550 to 1700? This is a broad unit 3, so we'll just wait to have the answer. Answer choice A being technological revolution, B industrial revolution, C algebraic revolution, E and C scientific revolution. I think we can go ahead and review this answer. The answer would be D, the scientific revolution. I get that this is not quite what we covered. However, you should know this. This is every world. So yeah, it's Age of Reason, scientific revolution, goes hand in hand. Who played an important role in managing family affairs and estates among European nobility during this period? Visitors, wives, sons, or daughters? Okay, I think we can go ahead and reveal this one's answer. That would be wives, actually. So, I see a lot of people said sons. When we say like family affairs, we're talking about, like domesticity, cooking, cleaning, and that's very much typically placed on women, and that's sort of their role. So yeah, if you said sons, close, but no cigar. If Suleiman the Magnificent didn't oversee legal reform within the Ottoman Empire, how would it impact its administrative efficiency? This is a hard one. The administration might become chaotic due to inconsistent legal practices. It would make the administration more efficient due to a focus on military expansion. The administration might improve due to decentralization and local autonomy, or the empire may have adopted Islamic law strictly, altering its religious tolerance policies. Where'd the music go? Okay, I think we have enough answers to where I'm comfortable revealing it. The answer would be A, the administration might become chaotic due to inconsistent legal practices. So I totally understand why you'd think D, but yeah. So next question. Which environmental factor most directly influenced the development of the Russian social system in the early modern period? A, fast fostering nomadic pastoralism. B, forest resources leading to shipbuilding industries. C, abundance of navigable rivers promoting trade. Or D, poor soil quality necessitating a large labor force. Really interested over what our capacity or stats music stack doing music their native. And enough of you have answered to where I'm comfortable revealing it. So the answer would be D, poor soil quality necessitating a large labor force. Now for our fifth question, which land-based empire incorporated a merit-based civil service examination system for governmental positions? This is an important one, guys. A, the Empire, B, the Ming Dynasty, C, the Tokugawa Shogunate, or D, the Ottoman Empire. And I think enough people have answered to where it is fine. So the answer would be B, the Ming Dynasty. Easy peasy. You guys nailed this one. Very impressed. We're actually going to have the sixth question be our final question. Hopefully you end off well. So the question is, which emperor created a divine faith that combined monotheistic tradition with reverence for the emperor? Okay, I think a lot of you have answered this, so let's go ahead and reveal it. It is Akbar. A lot of you guys said Suleiman. Dang it. So we actually are going to have to move on to closing out this preview. I'm so glad that you guys could participate in the quiz with me. Thank you. Thank you. So let's get back to these slides. So this is just a reminder that we are still doing the Cram Nights. This is going to be even bigger and grander than the previews. May 10th through 14th, we're going to be talking about all of the units, everything you need to know. Here's the schedule to my right if you want to look at that. Somerset. All right. And then once again, here's that to the right. If you want to sign up, I highly recommend it. And then if you want to see more of us, more of Fiveable, follow at Think Fiveable on socials. That'll be on LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I follow us on Instagram. The girls who run that, amazing job. So yeah, if you want to follow us at Think Fiveable.
And if I can jump in for one last thing, if you can go to the previous slide real quick.
Yes, of course.
Thank you. Two final things to close out, guys. For one, I would say it'd be really, really awesome for you guys to join us again starting on the 10th. Really awesome job from all the different hosts, all the different people working in the chat. They did awesome. You guys can snap it up or celebrate them in the chat. The one final thing I would ask from you guys, there's a link on the bottom where it says survey right below the screen. If you click that link, you can take a survey that tells us about how we did. And it's really, really helpful for all of us. And so it shouldn't take any longer than 5 minutes. Please, 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 whatever you can do, please take that survey. We'll also drop a link in the chat here too. It would be really helpful for us, especially as we get ready to start on May 10th, actually going through all these different nights. So please take the time if you can. Really appreciate all y'all coming out for this last hour, especially on a Friday night. Student hosts, is there anything else that you guys want to say?
I just want to say I'm really impressed from the quality of your guys' answers. You guys are so ready. You guys are more ready than you think. So good job, you guys.
We're here for 5 nights, 15 glorious hours. We're going to have a great time. We're going to get that 5.
Wonderful, y'all. We hope to see you again on May 10th. We're going to go ahead and end this crowdcast, but we really, really hope to see you guys soon. Please do the survey if you haven't done so yet, and we will see you on May 10th. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Bye, guys. Bye.